Just goes to show you can talk trucks anytime. I guess in most of the world it's Super Bowl Sunday, but here it's Meat Bird Barn Clean Out Day. It's not easy or fun, but it has to be done. I was not intentionally trying to rhyme there, but it does have to be done. It's not easy. It definitely isn't fun. Jared claims that it's family bonding time. We can find other better ways to do that. But basically the deep litter bedding in the Meat Bird Barn that was utilized throughout 2024 for 6 flocks of Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens totaling 1,650 birds now has to all be cleaned out.
You know what this is?
What?
This is not about...
Should I pause recording or keep recording?
This is about teaching. Not all kids these days know how to pitch the barn out. This is teaching them what they had to do years ago to clean the barn. They had to pitch the barn.
Okay.
So
Boys,
no, I've had to pitch.
young men, young adult sons, so you can now put that on your resumes. I know how to pitch out a barn. No, seriously, Jared is right. Not every young person has had the experience of cleaning out a barn by hand, but we did not fail to provide our kids with that experience. Although we are missing a kid. How did we have one skip out on barn clean out day, Jared? He'll be...
I think you planned it that way.
Oh, but he'll be back before we're done. But no, we did have the meat birds in here in 2024. This building was built for them. We also had some young Rhode Island Reds in here until about a week ago, and we finally moved them out to our egg production hen area. So now with no birds in here, we can really get a good clean out on this barn. We want to let the floor sit empty, and then we'll be rebedding it for the next meat birds that move in. I believe we actually get the first 2025 meat birds on March 12th, and I think we're starting with 200. We actually scaled the meat birds back for 2025. I think the number that we're planning on start, grow, and finish for our Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens for 2025 is about 1,300. We were hoping for 1,400, and we were going to start a flock January 22nd, but decided against it because we were watching the forecast and saw record cold coming and didn't want to deal with that. So that's the first load going out. That probably took about 1/4 of the floor space in the barn. So gonna go down and see how it's gonna work, getting it off the little utility trailer. And then when we get back up here, we'll finish cleaning out what we call the front, and then we'll take the short wall down, and we got all that to do. And it's kind of funny when Jared said, you know, it's kind of about teaching the young people to pitch out the barn and to the manual labor skills. Well, it isn't. We're kind of joking about that. Y'all obviously know, but it is kind of funny you said that, because actually we do have access to things like skid steers where you could come in here and just clean this out. But we're home. We want to get a good clean out of the barn. We can have everybody pitching in, and we also are using this time to talk, to evaluate, to plan, and in terms of the meat bird barn itself and the meat bird operation, using this plan to really be boots on the floor in here and talking about our observations throughout the year, using the building and ways that we can maximize the building's strengths, minimize its weaknesses. So you know, you can do all these things with the faster, stronger, heavier equipment, but honestly, anything in life, when you get nitty gritty, hands on with it, really immerse yourself personally, physically in the task, it gives you more time to ponder how it's working, how you want it to work, how big the distance is from how you want it to work and how it's actually functioning, and how to get from where we're at to where we need to be. So we are doing this by hand because sometimes slow is fast, and sometimes less is more, and sometimes harder is better. You know, you choose your hard, but we are doing this by hand to kind of just let ourselves process through, you know, what needs to happen in the meat bird barn for improvements, and what needs to happen on our small farm at our home place. So anyway, so let's take a walk down. Let's check out what's going on. We will be getting all the feeders and waters out. We probably won't be removing the heat lamps because we're going to be using those, remember, when 200 birds move in, but we might be repositioning them. Here's actually a lot of the paraphernalia that was in the barn. So basically equipment there to feed and water and cool birds from hatchling through grow through ready to butcher. Okay, so for time being, getting the used deep litter out of the barn. We are putting it right here, just down the south slope from the meat bird barn. So they went ahead, we're just trying to do something that works, because in the past that makes it manageable physical strength wise for all of us to deal with moving the bedding. In the past, we have used a skid steer to clean this building out, and obviously it's on tracks or wheels, and you have a bucket, and that's how you load up the stuff and unload it. And so since we're not using that today, they laid a tarp on the utility trailer. We just did kind of a shallow layer on the utility trailer. They just got enough of it off to be able to just try to roll that tarp back. So the used litter, oh, well, the tarp flew out from under, but the used litter we can repurpose. We've never sold it or anything like that. We have repurposed it, but of course, you know, chicken manure is fairly what we call hot, has a lot of ammonia in it, so I believe that makes it a really high concentration of nitrogen. I think I'd have to go back and double check myself on that, but at any rate, so you can't, the point of that is you can't just take it like right out of the chicken house and go put it on your plants or right on your garden. It needs to compost a bit or break down a bit. So we're just letting it sit. We do have some under that where they're putting it that, you know, has been sitting there about a year. So we could dig into that when we go to start some garden beds and produce beds this year. We can probably dig into that and utilize a significant bit of that. So we'll see. But the stuff coming out, as I said, really, it's been built up through all of 2024, but it'd still be fairly fresh. So we're not going to be using that immediately. Utility trailer and four-wheelers, big helps on any size farm, any size homestead. Surely we're having fun now. It's like carnival rides. Hey, there's the truck they were working on yesterday. So they got an injector pump on it, and I think it's next on the agenda. We get the barn clean out where we need it for the day. Ooh, that was a close one. Wade actually just about fell. But we get the barn clean out where we need it for the day, and then I think we're back on this truck, hopefully getting it running today. It hasn't been running for months, but hopefully today's the day. Short walls coming down, and so the point of that when we have birds in here is that, for example, like the flock coming in, I believe March 12th, be 200 of them. 200 of them don't need the entire floor space of this barn. In fact, the barn is sized for 450 Cornish rock cross meat chickens at finish, and that's figuring on 2 square foot of floor space per bird in the barn. So if we were to have 450 and max the building out, we couldn't have anything other than the birds, the waters, and the feeders on the floor space. But when we're only going to have 200, actually where that short wall is sitting, from there back to this wall, that's actually enough room for us to start growing finished 200 birds in. So after the floor clean out's done, we probably will be setting a short wall back up, possibly back in that same place. And then we'll also have an additional short wall going from here over to here so that we'll only have that area initially for the 200 chicks moving in at hatch, and then we'll be able to utilize all those heat lamps. We'll drop them all down to the same height, turn them on, test them, observe them, but they'll be in use for starting those hatchlings. Hey Drew, how you doing, friend? Hey, Dad said this is family bonding time, so take it up with him if you have any qualms with that. But when we get those hatchlings in here, we'll be able to start 200 in there. We'll have those lamps to utilize. We basically can create a blanket of warmth out of those heat lamps. They are 250 watt bulbs. Where was that at? Over there. So we'll float test that one. It'll probably go in household eggs. It's not going in sales eggs. So backstory on that is we had 14 local hens rehomed here, I don't know when, a couple weeks ago. So when they first got here, we didn't have an immediate housing situation ready for them. So we just temporarily housed them in this building. They had been laying eggs back in this corner behind the corner board we had up, but we knew they might have found some other places. So we don't know exactly how old that egg is, but it had been since late January. So at the most, it's probably only a couple weeks old, but we'll float test that one. Y'all know what a float test is on eggs? Do y'all know how to float test an egg?
Yeah, throw them in the water.
I wouldn't throw them in the water, but you place them in water and you want it to stay at the bottom of your vessel of water if it's fresh. If it rises to the top of the vessel of water, probably an indicator that it's just not fresh enough to eat. What did you say about the egg, Jared?
Don't throw it away. You know that's a $1 egg.
Even old and forlorn and found in the barn 2 weeks after the fact, you think it still holds value?
Yep.
Probably. That's probably about where we're at on eggs, isn't it?